Today on Hi, it's Grave Girls, consistency and creativity. Hi, it's Grave Girls, I'm Danielle, and this is our show. We're going to do our show. Charlie obviously isn't here again today, so, she's fired. Just kidding. Basically, she's been working a bunch, and gosh, it's been such a busy week, hasn't it? Well, she's working a bunch, and we'll be back on it together tomorrow, and then probably just roll a bunch back to back so we can keep it going throughout the week. So yeah, with that in mind, next week we have a music video coming out, Jesus Saves Written on a Cigarette, hopefully on Thursday. And other than that, really soon after first week of April, we're going to be releasing 2 songs, Girl Joint and Timothy Leary Says Drugs. So we got that going on. So creativity and consistency. It's one of those things. It can be hard. It can be a challenge for any artist on any skill level in any format. But creative consistency is kind of necessary to be a professional artist to an extent, at least. You have to be able to perform your stuff, and you have to be able to do a good job, or so they say. And you have to, be able to have a creative output of some sort. I think you have to have creative output to consider yourself an artist, like at least to some degree. But with professional artists, it can be a lot about consistency. I became a professional artist a year and a half ago. And yeah, probably 2 years ago to a year and a half ago, I stopped working a 9 to 5 and I decided I am going to make it, or bust. And a lot of people will tell you this, but sometimes it's the motivation you need as an artist. Sometimes you gotta go hungry to really find out what you want, and to really find out how much you want it, in a way. You gotta be hungry for making shit happen, and you gotta get after it. You gotta have creative consistency. So there's a lot of ways. There's no one trick to creative consistency, and some people will act like being consistently creative is impossible, or it is, too much, or it's just impossible. And I disagree. I think there are a lot of ways we can bring ourselves back to a place of creativity in our lives. So the first way that you can bring creativity back into your life, I think, is to let go, to surrender your expectations. When you go into a performance, if you have very specific expectations, oftentimes the crowd picks up on it, and it's almost like a reverse psychology kind of thing, or something, because they're either going to follow you there, but not all the time. And a lot of times when you come at something with too many expectations, it appears forced, or it appears like you're in your head. And, expectations of your own art and performance, getting in your head is the thing that keeps us from killing it, usually. I've had great performances where I've been in my head, but most of those, it's just more enjoyable when you're free and you let go and you just surrender to the experience, and surrender to, the crowd of that night, or if you're in the studio, or working on any artistic work, you can oftentimes, you surrender to yourself. You say, I'm not going to have this any given way. I'm going to let it flow. And that brings back the concept of creative flow, which we've talked about before. So, consistency and creativity, being able to unlock your flow state, having the key to the floor, or, so they say, is incredibly important for artists. One thing, a trick that I will use, number 2, is stimulation, like physical or emotional stimulation. The first band I was in, we would often do like a group huddle before our set and like hype ourselves up. And it was really, really useful for getting the group on the same page, just to like touch base right before your show starts or your set starts, and just being like, we're gonna get them, and so you do. A lot of times following through is about dreaming big enough for people to be impressed. So, take that somewhere. I think that's a relatively profound artistic statement. Perhaps. I'll have to watch this again to wrap my head around it myself. But, so yeah, stimulation. Like, I will often use smell. Smell is one of our senses that is highly tied to memory, and it's highly tied to, the vibe, like experiential. What kills the vibe worse than, a stinky fart, basically, getting crop dusted at a show or something. So what I'm trying to say is smell can be really important to putting you somewhere emotionally and mentally and creatively. So having like a good smell around, I had another band, and Grave Girls does this too, but burning a type of incense or a type of candle that is like specific at your practice, and then using that smell at shows to kind of bring you back to the emotional, mental memory state, can help with muscle memory. I don't have like scientific percentages here. It's creative work. And like creative work, like music, people will go into the recording studio and be like, oh, there's no precedent for this, or, it's so mysterious. And that's really just a novice way to look at things oftentimes, because there are objective results you can get from creative work and choices in your aesthetic. So that's the third thing, is aesthetic can be incredibly important. I keep saying important. It's not important, it's vital. Essential, more needed than a lot of things. I think an artist's aesthetic is more important than your ability to actually like be like, I guess like I would rather you have an aesthetic than be able to like do like a perfect shred solo, if that makes sense. Like, it's the reason that, cover bands aren't often considered part of a local music scene. More often than not, cover bands are, on the outskirts of that. And part of the reason is because the work is not as creative in terms of like coming up with real things, and And there can be tons of spontaneity. I mean, hell, you got a Grateful Dead band. I reckon they won't be playing the same set every single night, or what have you. So, I guess to conclude, creative consistency. Just get it, girl. Just go after it. Just sorry, I hope that was helpful. With creative consistency, we're releasing right now Empress of a Shattered Glass this year, 1 or 2 songs a month, every month. And if we do it that way, it's going to take longer than a year. There's 21 songs. So, I guess if we release 2 every month from here on out, we can make it happen. So that might have to happen. Charlie's going to kill me about that one because I have her making, visual art spontaneously, like, for each month's music, and she's been killing it. She'll have these awesome ideas, and I love her, and Charlie's great. So if you're watching this, love you. I guess that's all for today. Creative consistency and flow is essential to building your career as an artist. Okay. Bye, it's Grave Girls. See you next time. Goodbye.